In the hushed grandeur of a Prague banquet hall, one of the greatest minds of the Renaissance sat in mounting agony. Surrounded by nobles, candles, and the weight of imperial etiquette, Tycho Brahe, a man who charted the heavens with meticulous precision, remained seated. He needed to relieve himself, but to do so would violate the rigid codes of courtly conduct. So he held it, and in doing so, he sealed his fate. Yesterday's Craziness presents The Strangest Deaths from Throughout History, a monthly video celebrating someone's untimely demise in a strange, crazy, or interesting way. Tycho Brahe was no ordinary guest. Born in Denmark in 1546, he was Europe's most celebrated astronomer before telescopes transformed the field. His detailed naked-eye observations of planetary motion, spanning decades, would become the very data Johannes Kepler used to revolutionize astronomy. Brahe's instruments were state-of-the-art for the late 16th century. His observatory, Oranienborg, the envy of the scientific world. In 1599, he was invited to Prague by the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II and named imperial mathematician. He lived as a nobleman, philosopher, and scientist of the highest order. But on one evening in late October, 1601, during a lavish banquet, his brilliant career met a bizarre and tragic end. According to multiple accounts, including those later recorded by Kepler, Brahe drank copiously, but refused to excuse himself from the table. Rising mid-feast was seen as impolite, especially in the imperial court. As the hours passed, Brahe's discomfort grew unbearable. After finally returning home, he could no longer urinate. Over the next several days, his condition worsened. Only intermittent dribbles, excruciating pain, swelling, and fever. He soon became delirious, muttering incomprehensibly, raving about unfinished work and celestial harmonies. On October 24th, 11 days after the banquet, Tycho Brahe died in agony at age 54. At the time, it was widely believed he had died of a bladder rupture brought on by acute urinary retention. This remained the accepted narrative for centuries. A brilliant man, undone by his own politeness. But in the late 20th century, doubt crept in. Some suspected foul play. Was he poisoned? Had Kepler, eager for Brahe's astronomical data, hastened his mentor's demise? In 1996, and again in 2010, Brahe's remains were exhumed. Scientists from Denmark and the Czech Republic analyzed beard hairs and bone samples. The results showed elevated levels of mercury, but nowhere near enough to suggest intentional poisoning. There was no evidence of toxins or foul play. The verdict was clear. Tycho had died of complications from urinary retention, likely sepsis or uremia, exactly as originally believed. Even Brahe's final words, if they are to be trusted, echoed this strange mix of genius and folly. According to Kepler, his dying sentiment was, "Let me not seem to have lived in vain." Others claimed he added, "I have lived like a sage and died like a fool." Whatever the precise phrasing, the irony is unmistakable. The story of Tycho's death became a cautionary tale. It highlighted the danger of placing etiquette above health. It also revealed the fragile humanity behind a monumental intellect. Here was a man who calculated planetary movements to minutes of arc, who tracked Mars so precisely that Kepler could later describe elliptical orbits, yet who may have lost his life out of deference to social decorum. His death also triggered decades of speculation and posthumous storytelling. In some versions, he was a victim of imperial intrigue. In others, the moral is straightforward. Even the most brilliant minds can fall victim to their own stubbornness or societal pressures. Comparisons have been made to other historical figures undone by medical neglect. U.S. President Zachary Taylor, for example, died in 1850 after consuming cherries and iced milk and then refusing adequate medical care. In both cases, a prominent man, a minor discomfort, and a tragic consequence. But Tycho's legacy far outweighs the oddity of his death. Without him, Kepler might not have had the data to develop his 3 laws of planetary motion. Without Kepler, Newton's theory of universal gravitation may have taken longer to emerge. Brahe's death may be comical in its details, but his life remains foundational to the scientific revolution. In a way, the story of Tycho Brahe encapsulates the tension of the age he lived in, a world poised between medieval ritual and modern science, between superstition and precision. A man who tried to hold back nature only to discover that the body, like the stars, obeys no etiquette. If you liked what you watched, please like and subscribe. We post interesting and crazy stories from throughout history every Wednesday and Saturday. Yesterday's craziness, because yesterday was crazy too.